It is graduation season, and the current crop of young people walking across that stage this spring have grown up with Donald Trump as the commander-in-chief or the campaigner denying his election loss for most of their lives. And so there is no doubt that he will leave a mark on a generation of young adults who have watched a man voted twice into office smash norms, stoke division, seek retribution, and ignore the Constitution and the rule of law.
I've been freaking out a lot about this speech, honestly. And as I search my heart today in addressing you all, my moral and political commitments guide me to say that the only thing that is appropriate to say in this time and to a group this large is a recognition of the atrocities currently happening in Palestine.
This world is yours now, and this world needs fixing. And I pray to the heavens that you are the fixers.
I call upon the class of 2025 to withhold donations and continue advocating for disclosure and divestment.
You've used disappointment to sharpen your convictions. You now know with more certainty what you believe and what you refuse to accept.
We saw how policies that claim to optimize actually traumatize. And we saw how those in charge abandoned their obligation to defend free expression and to protect the people they pledged to serve.
Young people are always watching adults for guidance about guardrails and decorum. And what did they see under Donald Trump? Adults cheered a man who made fun of people with disabilities. Adults looked the other way when he talked about grabbing women by their private parts. Adults continue to accept and exalt a man who was twice impeached and convicted of 34 felonies. Adults continue to support his agenda around immigration, even though it smashed constitutional notions of due process. Adults, even those who expressed reservations, supported his agenda to provide tax cuts to the rich and enact massive cuts in programs for the poor and the elderly. Not all adults, of course, but enough of them went to the voting booth to say all of this is condoned and acceptable. Even when the threats and the vows of retribution became more heated and more common, they returned him to office. And then those same adults remained silent while the administration lectured the nation about the need for merit-based ideologies while appointing a litany of leaders who are manifestly underqualified for cabinet positions. At the same time, this administration dismantled DEI programs because diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives allegedly discriminate against white Americans, a claim made with no proof, all bombast, no facts. The kids who have grown up under Trump's shadow have inherited a world that is undeniably diverse. This young generation is the most diverse cohort America has ever produced, but they are walking into a world where the very word diversity has been demonized and weaponized to systematically cauterize the civil rights and human rights gains that should have been their true inheritance. Instead, what will they inherit from more than a decade of Trump's ascendancy and takeover of the Republican Party? Graduates marching across stages this spring are strutting into an uncertain job market and a tumultuous economy. They and their children and their aging baby boomer and Gen X parents are less likely to have solid health care or benefit from research-based medical advancement. Let's remember that 55% of higher education research is, or perhaps we should say was, funded by the federal government. This administration's slash and burn and flail around a chainsaw approach to federal programs was ostensibly to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. The real goal, however, was really about providing more tax cuts for ultra-wealthy Americans. It has done little to gild the futures of everyday American kids. And even with all of this, Donald Trump made significant inroads with Gen Z voters in the last election. There's been a lot of analysis on the Gen Z voters who gravitated toward Donald Trump in the November election, but less so on the impact that his leadership has had on their psyches or their outlook in life. Now, we wish the best for all graduates this year from universities, from trade schools, military academies, community colleges, and high schools. The hills may be steeper for some of you, but sometimes it's easier to find your stride when you're charging uphill. We hope you find your best selves. And we hope that the adults who are now running things find a way to give the so-called Trump generation the opportunities in life that you all deserve.
And let me also say that we firmly believe that our international students have the same rights to freedom of speech as everyone else, and they should not be targeted by the government for exercising that right.
Students at Columbia University let their school's acting president know exactly how they felt during graduation proceedings earlier this week. They expressed dissatisfaction with the school's capitulation to the Trump administration, as well as the continued detention of student and lawful resident Mahmoud Khalil. Contrast that with the scene at Morehouse College in Atlanta this week. The school decided to empower its student body by giving graduates the opportunity to introduce themselves and share their own accomplishment as they take the next step into their futures. Tressie McMillan Cottom is a professor at UNC Chapel Hill and an opinion columnist for the New York Times. She joins me now. I'm such a big fan of your work. I'm so glad you are with me for this conversation. In your experience as a professor, how have the Trump years shaped the way young people see the world?
Pleasure to be here with you, by the way. Michelle, you look wonderful in the chair, by the way. Listen, it was heartbreaking to me to hear you a little earlier call this the Trump generation. By the way, you know, I was of that moment where we were talking about the Obama generation and how we would have this generation of children who had never known an America without a Black president and all the possibility that portended for our multiracial future. And to hear about or to consider what a Trump generation will learn from us, and as an analog to what we had hoped they'd learned about us from the Obama years, is a bit heartbreaking. When I talk to young people in particular, with keeping in mind that college students come in a wide range and varieties, but in young people in particular, there is this sense that we prepared them for an America that does not exist. Right. So when we talk about how they are much more accepting of sexual minorities, for example, that didn't fall out of the sky. They came through K through 12, where they learned these lessons about how you treat other people and to be accepting, and how we were supposed to treat people that were different from us, only to arrive in college and find out that not only was that not the reality, but the very things they had been taught to value now makes them targets in their own country, either because they are those people, they embody those identities and those lived experiences, or because they sympathize or empathize with those people. So there's a sense of loss of trust, not just between generations, but I think between young people and what they think is possible for them in the United States of America. And frankly, that is heartbreaking.
You know, every news cycle, we're talking about the shattering of norms of one kind or another. And the word normal is always, you know, it should be a laundry setting. I mean, it's not, you know, it's a word that you have to be careful when you use, because norms are always changing, but they're usually not getting shattered in this way. And so what may seem abnormal to people who remember a different standard and a different set of decorum, particularly from the Oval Office or from the White House, is perhaps fairly normal to the young people who've grown up with. I mean, Donald Trump has been, you know, president, running for office, president again. This has been the person that has held the highest office in the land, or has been seeking that office for a very long time. What does that mean in terms of the norms or the ideas that they might have around what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, in terms of the way that they treat their fellow human beings, in terms of the way they see the world and themselves?
We cannot overstate the importance that sort of like internet culture did to already sort of destabilizing the norms of what was acceptable discourse, who was an acceptable victim of targeted harassment, that kind of thing. And that had just been allowed to sort of simmer beneath the surface of our cultural awareness in this country. But in so many ways, Donald Trump embodies what for some of us was Gamergate, or if you've spent any time in sort of online communities, the sort of culture of using humor to get away with transgressing those norms that you talk about. Donald Trump takes that and he sort of levels this up to the legitimacy of the highest office in this country. And I think for a lot of young people, what they see in that is that, one, if you can get away with it, then it is normal, which I would point out is an absolute horrible way for social cohesion to work, right? For us to cohere as a multiracial democracy, it takes a certain amount of risking failure in reaching out to one another. And Donald Trump embodying that there are no bounds to your bad behavior if you have enough power, enough wealth, enough status, enough prestige to get away with it. That is a lesson that runs counter, by the way, to our idea of meritocracy, runs counter to our idea of ourselves as a compassionate nation. But it is hard to argue against the fact that he is winning with that type of behavior. And, we talk if for anyone who's ever raised children, you've heard they don't hear what you say, they hear what you do.
They watch what you do, right?
That's right. We can communicate these messages all day, but if we reward the behavior that allows you to ascend to the top of the political, economic, and cultural hierarchy of the United States of America, then that is what we are endorsing. When those norms are gone, this is something that troubles me. It is not easy to rebuild them. And that is something I'm not sure that young people understand, but then I'm not sure that the rest of us quite understand and appreciate that either.
I